All right, guys. Hope everybody's having a good day today. We got an iPad Mini 2. This model is a A1489, and this is the digitizer I got. This will work on a 1489, 1490, 1432, and a 1454 iPad Mini 2. Go ahead and power off the device. Look it over. I looked it over and I could tell in the bottom right corner it had been dropped. And whenever I put the screen back on, it's not going to fit just flush like it should. So I made sure I let the owner of the iPad understand, and they were okay with it. So now we're going to heat up the screen. You can use a hairdryer or a heat gun. I would highly recommend a heat gun. They're very inexpensive. You can get one for about $20 or less on eBay or Amazon. Now we're going to take a pry tool. This is my Sesamo tool. I love this thing. You're going to pull up on the glass. And luckily this iPad had some big chunks in it. When you get big chunks of iPad glass, you can usually take this. This is a lot less work. Up here in the top corner, you can kind of tell there's little shards of glass. That one's going to take me a little bit longer. But keep heating and lifting up on the glass. You don't want to lift into the iPad. You could risk damaging the LCD, which is about twice the price of the digitizer. So we're trying to save money for us and the customer. And what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get this digitizer off so I can get to the LCD, because I want to get the LCD off as well, because that's the most expensive part right now that I'm working on. So you're going to pull this away, and in that bottom right corner you're going to see that's where the digitizer connects. Right now you can go ahead and cut it off because we don't need it anymore. But I decided not to just yet. I'm going to heat up the bottom and keep prying away this glass, trying to get all this glass off, all the adhesive, everything off, so when we put our new digitizer on, it fits as flush as possible. But I think here pretty soon I'm going to grab my scissors. Dust brush comes in very, very handy, especially little shards of glass that get on top of that LCD could scratch it up. Went ahead and cut the digitizer off with some scissors. Take my heat gun. You're not going to put too much heat, and make sure when you put the heat on you're not aiming towards your LCD. We're just working on getting the glass off. Keep prying away. You can also use tweezers. I'm up here on the top part of the LCD now. And in that top left corner, there's a bunch of little bitty shards. So I'm trying to heat the adhesive and then grab the adhesive like tape and pull it up. And when you do that, the little bitty shards of glass stick to that adhesive tape, and it makes this repair go a lot smoother. There I am. Just keep heating. If it gets too cold, just add a little bit more heat. You don't want it too hot, but it doesn't take much for that adhesive to get loose. So go ahead and keep heating and just prying away ever so gently. This video is sped up, so if you need to pause it until you're caught up, that's completely fine. There's 4 screws. In the top right corner, this screw is covered by a piece of tape. And in the bottom right corner, that screw is covered by a piece of tape. Go ahead and uncover those screws so you can access them. There'll be 4 screws that you need to take out so we can take out the LCD. Once you take out the 4 screws, set them to the side. This is where it can get tricky. You want to be very careful. We're going to try to pry up on the LCD at the top just so we have enough little wiggle room to get something to fit in there. This is a spudger. It's about the same size and length as that whole LCD screen. And when you put it all the way down in there, it really makes this LCD come out a whole lot better. If you pry just a little bit on a corner, you can crack the LCD very easily. So please be very careful with this part. Take your time. Now when I lift this up, I'm going to feel resistance at the bottom. Don't go too far. You can crack the LCD once again. There's tape at the bottom right and the bottom left of the LCD we're going to go ahead and remove this tape. When you remove this tape, you'll notice as soon as you lift this LCD, like there's no resistance. It'll make it a lot easier for you to unscrew this heat shield. Now just lay the LCD against the wall. I'm going to go ahead and start taking off the screws. And once again, this is a A1489 model. In the A1432, it has like 16 screws. This one only had about 8. So the models do vary on the screws on this heat shield. But what you're going to do is you're going to put a little bit of pressure on one side, kind of angle the heat shield, and you're going to lift on the other to get this heat shield out. Always use a plastic pry tool, especially because the battery is still connected. And you don't want any little pieces of metal touching that could short it out or cause damage. Now we're going to take our screwdriver. There's 3 screws covering on this plate. We're going to remove this plate. Underneath this plate, you got your battery, which we'll do first. Grab some plastic pry tool once again. Then we're going to disconnect our LCD, and last but not least, our digitizer. The digitizer is a little bit glued down, so you're going to have to wiggle it a little bit to get it free. Once you do that, we're going to clean it off again. Take your dust brush, get it all real good and clean. Make sure there's no screws or loose pieces of glass. Now we're going to take our tape, actually, and you're going to tape the top and the bottom. I made the mistake on this iPad of taping the sides. Just got kind of carried away. But you don't want to tape the sides of the iPad until you put the LCD on. So tape the top and the bottom, don't tape the sides. Now that you got your tape on there, remember top and bottom, not sides, we're going to connect our digitizer. Then we're going to grab our LCD. Once again, I'm always using that dust brush to clean off any excess dirt or glass or anything. You always want to take care of that LCD. Go ahead and connect the LCD. And we're going to lay the LCD down and put the digitizer on top of it. And we're going to test this baby out and make sure that everything's working properly. When you lay the LCD down and the digitizer on top, if the screen is not functioning, the touch, then more than likely lift it back up and reconnect your digitizer connection. Now, if the touch is working when you're testing it, but the home button is not, more than likely on the home button it's just not lined up right. So move your little home button around at the bottom and see the little metal connectors have to touch. More than likely, as long as the touch is working, once you put that adhesive down, your home button will be fine. So everything's working. Go ahead and power it off. We're going to go ahead and open it back up. And then we're going to put our battery plate back on. Once again, get your 3 screws. And be careful, the sides of your iPad is magnetic. So if any of your screws go missing, check the sides of your iPad. Half the time, that's where they go. Once you put that on, you're going to put your heat shield on. Remember, screw your screws in on both sides. And once again, I put that tape on the side, which I shouldn't have done, but I did. And it was getting in the way of the holes. And it's going to cause me problems right here as well, laying this LCD down. I'm going to have to wiggle it a little bit just to get it to fit just right. And as you notice, when I push the LCD down, the tape kind of goes in on the sides. So we're going to take our 4 screws. Make sure your screw holes are lined up. You're going to screw in the 4 screw holes. And then after you screw in the screw holes, this is when you want to tape the sides of your iPad. I just got a little happy and decided I was going to try it and tape the sides early, and I shouldn't have. So this is right where I was putting that tape. That's when you want to put the tape in. Because if not, you're going to run into this problem where the tape goes on the side and I'm over here using tweezers to pull it out. And if I accidentally miss, I could scrape the LCD. Just took a lot longer than necessary. So make sure, once again, now you put the tape. And I like to use that black double-sided tape. You'll be able to see when I pull it off right here, it's black. But I remove all the tape. I used to use clear tape, and I couldn't tell half the time if it was old adhesive, new adhesive, if I had pulled it off or not. But once you get all the adhesive off, there's usually adhesive on the digitizer, the new digitizer, but it's usually never enough. That's why I always add my own adhesive. So right now I'm taking off the adhesive that's on the digitizer, and it's also got a little plastic covering that goes over the glass. I'm taking that off as well. So make sure you pull that off, or your iPad's going to be real blurry and you won't figure it out. I had a little fingerprint on there, so I grabbed my little microfiber cloth and cleaned it off of the LCD. Use my Dutch brush again just to make sure there was no pieces of glass. Now we're going to line up the top camera. That's going to be the main one. You're going to line up that top camera and make sure that it's square. Once it's square, you start pushing it down and then work your way towards the bottom. Once again, in that bottom right corner, I had mentioned at the first of the video, it's not going to sit flush because of the fact that it had been dropped on that corner. So make sure right before you work on it, you kind of do a little overview so you can pick up on things like that. I'm going to go ahead and power it on. We're going to test it out and make sure it's working again. Like I said, for some reason you turn it on right here and it doesn't work. More than likely those other two things happen. One, the digitizer's not down right at the touch, not working. The home button's not working. You need to adjust where the home button's sitting. But this one worked out. Everything was good. So appreciate you guys for watching. If you have any tips or anything for me, please let me know. Maybe something worked for me, didn't work for you. But we got to help each other out. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it.